Okay, so we built a basic Go application, and that's cool. But let's look at building a very simple API, application programming interface. I said that before, but like, what is that? So I think the best way to do that okay, so this is an example of a very basic API, okay? So we see here post, get, delete. Those are HTTP response methods. I'm sorry, request methods. Okay, we have all of these. Please be bigger. Get, head, post, put, delete, connect, options, trace, patch. Okay, what is all of that? Well, if we open up this thing called Postman, which is an application to, let me snatch this because I don't know what's up here, which is an application to, sorry, this is an application to craft HTTP requests or API requests. Okay, so we could say like get HTTP, this is the exact request, localhost 8080, that's what we did earlier, right? And if we dump that out, it's a curl. So all it is a request to there. So if we have a post, and we got post just means, hey, I'm going to give you some information with this request most of the time. And then we can say, okay, this is going to be a JSON object, hello world, okay. And you see here in our request changes a little bit, and we have a header now specifying the content type, and then the data here. Okay, so what does this mean? Well, if we go back and look at the Swagger editor, we have what happens is APIs define specific routes and then methods on those routes. So this one API defines a route of TSD manager media set create. So if we look at that, that would be like this, right? If this application was running on our local host, this is how we would craft that. And then it's going to be a post, so we have that. And then if we look at the request body, it's going to be this stuff. So if we go to body, it would look like that. Okay, and then now we've made our request, the API request, and this API request is to create, in this case, is to create a media set, and then we give the API some information to create that media set, right? Okay, or like this one, we would do media set edit, and then provided, this documentation is wrong, but we provided a bit of information to edit said media set ID. We would provide it as a get, but we see this is a parameter. So what would this look like? Well, this is would actually look like this. Okay, this would get media set 12, right? We don't need a body here. Just like that, that's it. So an application programming interface, an API, is just a way, and this is a REST API, and there's different ways to do APIs, is just a way of exposing interfaces to allow other applications or developers to talk with that application, if that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to make a really simple one. We're going to start with a README. It's always good to keep even simple documentation. I like it's called LLOS, low level of shame documentation. So this is the learning with Jeff. We're gonna call it the, simple API. Okay, so this simple API is going to return a hello world on request to dash hello. Let's not do all that. Okay, so what's good about writing even simple documentation is this: when you come back 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 years from this, you can just look at this and it will be nice, and you will love yourself, and you'll be like, oh, thank you, past me, for writing this simple documentation. Because it's not always going to be stupid stuff like this, but at the time it might seem as trivial as this, and it's good to start now while you're learning, just keeping basic documentation. So right here describes everything. I only spent 20 seconds, and when I come back to this, or when someone else looks at it, they're only going to have to spend 20 seconds to know what's in it. They don't have to look at the code, which is still going to be simple here, but it's besides the point. So here, we're going to create and start an HTTP server. Okay, so we need to define the routes. So we said that on the request to dash hello, we want to respond with this hello world. So we're going to do a hello world handler that doesn't exist yet. So what did we just do here? We are creating an HTTP handler function that when the server is running, and receives a request to dash hello, any requests, it's going to pass it a hello world handler. Okay. So then we're going to do this. This is on the same HTTP package. Okay, we're going to say listen and serve on port 8080. Okay, and then we need to give it this handler. Okay. What did I do? Oh, it's because we haven't written that. Okay. So now we need to write the hello world handler. So 2 dashes here, as we can see here, creates a comment. If I create 2 dashes, a space, and then the name of the function, right, then this will auto-generate the documentation. Like, for example, when I go here, I notice it's 2 dashes and the name of the function. And then you see this text here is this text. Very nice. So how we create that is we write the documentation. And then when we hover it, we get that. It's very nice. Okay. So this needs to be, a response writer and a response request, because the HTTP handler function, if we look here, always expects in its second parameter a function that accepts a response writer, which is an interface, and a request. Okay, so we have to implement that here, and we have to say in our handler that we have to accept that response writer and response request. That way we can do things with the request and the response. This time we don't care about what's in the request, but we still need to pass it to accept it, to implement this interface. So we have here the handler now. I have to fix this. I don't know why I did that. And then this guy is just going to write back on the response writer a byte array of hello world. So let's see if I mess this up. I'm going to go run dot, and then I'm going to create another terminal here. I'm going to curl localhost 8080 hello, and we have our hello world. It's the same thing, right? Again, if we do postman, boom. So what do we just do? Let's look. Stop this. I'm going to click in the terminal, Control C. Okay, and now we wrote or updated our simple Go application to create and start an HTTP server, and in that HTTP server we defined a route of -hello, and this route gets, when requested, is passed to this hello world handler, and our handler, which accepts a HTTP response writer and an HTTP request, returns on request a byte array, or just it returns a string to the writer, and it says hello world, which we got back here. So and when I go do this, I'm just what I'm doing is, on a Mac it's Command, on Windows I think it's Control, but it's going to be a button and a click. I think you can also right click and go to definition. Okay, and then you can read what's inside of those. So if we look here, we use the write method, okay, and that's here. So write accepts a byte array, returns it in an error, and this is what it does. Okay, cool. So let us now put all of this into the backend in a folder called backend. Okay. Okay. And now let's get rid of these. We're going to open a new terminal. We're going to do, well, first we need to install some things, or you will. So you need to install NVM. Okay. Installing and updating, read this, do it, install NVM. Okay. And then you're going to do an NVM install, whatever, 18, 20, whatever you want. Do 18. Okay. And then what that does is you have npm. Okay. Npm is node. NVM is node version manager. NPM is node package manager, which is a dependency manager for node applications, which are written in JavaScript or TypeScript. Cool. So with NPM, we can do things like npx create React app front end. That's okay, we need to install it because I've never done this on this computer. I'm going to pause while this sets. Okay, so that's done. It tells us to cd in the front end, npm start, and then happy hacking. So let's see what that does. Front end, npm start. I actually don't. Well, yeah, because I don't like using npm for my package management, So I'm not going to do it here. I'm going to do npm install g yarn. And then I'm going to do in this front end a yarn. And so I'm actually going to use yarn for my dependency management in the front end. And just prefer it. So this is going to populate this folder, node modules, which is going to get massive, by the way. So nvm, so I have an incompatible here, so I'm going to nvm use, it wants 16. I don't know why, because this is a brand new thing, but whatever. When you see that issue, saying I need a version greater than 14, 15, 16, or greater than 18, and I got 17. So it's basically, you don't use 17. So yeah, this guy is ripping. It's done. If we look here in the front end, what did we make? We have a README, which is created by the React app. We're just going to get rid of all that. And then we have our package JSON, which is kind of like our Go mod, where it's a dependency structure and a little bit more because we have scripts here and some other little bits. People are either going to love this or hate it. And then the SRC is where we have all of our source bits. We're going to be mostly just working in this app.js folder. Public is public static assets. So if we go here and we say, it's not public static assets, it's the actual entry point for the React application. We see this is actually where all of the application runs. And then here is where we define that. And then here is the code for that. React's it's a little bit more, it's more and less in comparison to Golang. It's a little scary, it looks a little scary, but it also can be a lot more friendly, actually. I know it doesn't look like that, but if we look here, CSS files, we can just ignore those right now. This is just styling, okay? And then the test, we don't need to worry about that. And we have a logo. We don't need to worry about this, and we don't need to worry about this. So really, all we have here is an index.js, an app.js, and in the public, the only thing that's really actually important here is the index. And in all of this, all we actually need is this and this, okay, and the closing tags. So this looks scary, but it's really just a lot of bloat from the scaffold that I used, okay? So now if we yarn start, okay, and that start script is defined in that package.json, so I could have that just in reality ran React scripts start, okay? And now that opened a web browser, okay? So I'm just going to open that over here. All right, and then if we look back at that app.js and we say and we save it, this has hot reload and it will come right away. Oh, that's cool when you So we can also get rid of all of this trash. Now there would be no styling and it's just hello world, okay? But if we put the class name back, what that does is imports app CSS. It's going to give you all of this CSS, okay? So now it's cool because that had no, so if we put this, in there with that class name and the CSS attributes, it's now colored. Cool. But we don't care about any of that. Well, we do. That was fun. Let's look at what we just did. We just scaffolded and are now editing the front end or the interface that our user, or really just us, are going to interact with to access the back end. Because you don't want to go and tell someone, hey, go curl HTTP localhost 8080 hello. Sometimes you do, if this is just pointed at developers. But if you're making an application for a person or a normal human being, doesn't know what curl is, so we don't want to do that. We want to create a nice, pretty interface with something like a button. See, we don't have React Bootstrap. How do we solve that? We're going to use our package manager, yarn. We're going to add React's Bootstrap. Okay, what is React Bootstrap? Remember when we were over here, we were talking about importable packages. It's the same thing. This is an importable package, and it is a set of utilities and libraries, so you can have pretty bits out of the box. So accordions, cards, images, overlays, toast. There's a bunch of these. React Bootstrap's just common, so I did that one. Now, if we yarn start again, we can see our button. There he is in all his glory. Very beautiful. Okay. Where does a click me for the? No, click me. That's nice. Okay, so now that's cool. We have a button and we can click him, but he doesn't do anything. So let's write a request to our backend. How are we going to do that? So we're going to create a yep, just like that. We're going to make a fetch. Fetch is a native JavaScript, okay, and we're going to request to localhost 8080 actually, and we want to do health. Okay, and then yeah, what's happening here? Let's go over this. We're saying fetch. Let me do this because it makes it a little easier at first. So we're saying fetch. We're passing it the input of our endpoint that we created here, right? 8080 hello. It's running on local loopback, localhost. And we're saying then, so once you have fetched this, then dot then, and we're passing then a it's called a lambda function. So basically it's an inline function, right? So we're passing we're creating a function here, and we're saying we're passing response, and we're saying we're parsing that into JSON, okay? The return of this, we're taking data, so this is going to response.json. It's going to take the data off of this, put it into that, and then put it into our log. Cool. So if we click this now, we should get an error. Of course we would. We didn't link our button. So what we're going to do here is we're going to say on click, and we're going to point that to the request from API, and we failed to fetch. Now, why did we got that ugly error message because we didn't do this. I don't know why I am catching that. I'm not a JavaScript god, so I'm not going to pretend to be. But yeah, try catch, and I'm supposed to catch the failed to fetch. How do you... Ah, that's right. So when they're written like this, you want to do the catch like this. There we go. Now we shouldn't get the nasty bits. We get it in the console and then the network, right? Cool. Much better. So now, well, what happens if we do this? If I open up another console and I go back to backend, and I say go run, so now I have this running on 8080. So if I click me, oh, what the fuck, a cores error. Yeah, this is an annoying bit. So for development, we can do this. Yeah, it's, is it not? See, it's expecting JSON. We did not pass JSON. Let's change this. So what do we just do there? I changed this to pass JSON back as a string because we're parsing this as JSON, and that's how we should. We should not really do a string. We should do a JSON property with the value associated because it looks better and it's easier to parse and handle than a string. And that's how you're going to do it in the real world. So yeah, now if we click this, we get hello world back from our API if we update that. Right. Cool. What did we just do? We have created a front end and back end that they'll talk. Well, at least, yeah, they talk. And why did we do this? Well, because there are certain things that you cannot do from a browser, and you need those supporting backend applications to do them. Like what? File system access. There are some things that JavaScript is just not good at, like data science bits, so like anything heavy processor or any GPU acceleration stuff is not going to happen in the browser. It has to be handled by some off-put service. There's a lot of reasons to have the backend, but those, are a couple at least. And so let's stop here, and then in the next one, we're going to wrap these up in Docker containers and run them in Docker.